Successful people never reach their goals alone. Rather, they have mentors who lend a hand, hear them out, and give them necessary push that they need. The founder of Sujimoto Group of Companies, Sijibomi Ogundele, has established himself as a young man with a drive and vision that has led Sujimoto to become an international brand with real estate, finance, and energy operations in Paris, Accra, Madrid, Dubai, Riyadh, and Lagos.
Of course, you have a lot of properties around here, but what you don't see is that the ones you call luxury real estate do not represent what they actually state.
Sijibomi is a man with a vision of a Nigeria whose housing units can compete with others that can be found globally.
The first thing I did was to study the great captains of this industry, people like the Trump International, and study a city itself, which is Dubai, a city that from camels and sands has become a city of marbles. So when I studied there, I realized that what they have there is something we can replicate in Nigeria, and the Nigerian environment would actually appreciate it.
Sijibomi, because of Sujimoto, I tend to call you.
Absolutely. My name is Ola Sijibomi.
Okay.
But since I was born, my mom called me Suji.
All right.
For what reason I wouldn't know today. So the name Suji, is synonymous with Sujimoto, and that's where the name is from. So
Yeah,
my
nice.
original name is Ola Sijibomi, my company name is.
So let's talk about the Sujimoto Group of Companies. You have
Absolutely.
brokered about 47. You had brokered about 47 acquisitions.
Absolutely.
And you guys are in Lagos. You're in Dubai.
Absolutely.
You're in London.
No, we're in Paris.
Okay, in Paris actually. But let's talk about that.
Basically, I had started my career as a venture capitalist, and among being a venture capitalist, you have the opportunity to go into numerous companies, and part of the deals I've done, I think I've done a couple of deals, even more than 47. But as a venture capitalist, you have the opportunity to go into different companies and going into them and researching them and knowing the capacity, the strengths and the weaknesses, and looking for prospective investors to come into there. So that's where it's from.
So what you guys basically do is to acquire these companies that are struggling?
Yeah, that was what I did before as a venture capitalist. Initially,
Okay.
but right now, I just moved back to Nigeria and I'm into construction, basic construction.
Okay. Take us back to the beginning, because you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely.
I've read that when you were 8, you actually started selling bicycles in Lagos Market. Is that right?
Actually, that's a very funny story. Actually, I wasn't selling bicycle. I think when I was like between 7 and 8, that was when you had the Okada era. So during the Okada era, I realized I've saved some money. I followed my mother to the market. She's from Okari, which is Lagos Market. So when I turned 7 or 8, I realized, okay, I want to do something. I want to use my 7 or 8 years. I said I want to do something, so I bought one Okada I don't remember now, but I think not up to 10,000 naira.
You bought an Okada at the age of 8. So what did you say to your parents? Mom, Dad, I want to buy an Okada.
We live in a democratic system. In my family, we have a democratic family, so I didn't have to sell them anything. I just bought it, just showed up. But the fantastic part of this story is that before I turned 13, I'd already had 6 Okadas. So I had nothing to do with money. So I made use of the fundamental secret of accumulating. So between 4 years, I'd already bought 6. My house became an Okada center, and my dad was very upset, and we had to close the business. But that didn't close the entrepreneurship in me, because I exceeded in it, and I made sure that I used that same character and passion I had when I was 6, 7 years old. I still have the same passion today.
Do you think that you got that from your parents? Were your parents entrepreneurs?
My mom basically, you see, I tell people that I come from a family where we have different understanding when it comes to success. My father is a technocrat. My father believed that a man must go to work at night and come back to home by 5 to take care of his children. And my father told me, Suji, go to school and get good degrees and find a good company to hire you. But my mother, she's a primary school dropout. But today she's one of the most successful women I've ever known. And she told me, Sijibomi, you have to go to school, get good grades, and learn how to form your own company. And this is exactly what I did. I believe that my success today is not necessarily because of merit, but because I think I won an ovarian lottery. An ovarian lottery in the sense that my mother, an extraordinary woman who is today also my mentor, and at every step of it, her story alone is a story that any woman today must
Would be
actually look
inspiring.
at.
That's an interesting way
Very
of putting it. You said
interesting.
ovarian lottery.
And then, you know what I noticed about you? You seem to look beyond the here and now. I mean, from starting as a construction company, look at what you've done. There's always the visionary in you. Like, where did you get that from?
I think when you look at the part of giving back to society and trying to communicate to people, young entrepreneurs, I think I had no other choice but to do that. You know, for me, charity or this kind of giving back to society is not compulsory. For me, it is an obligation, because I came out from the most remote areas of this country, and I know what it is for you to be surrounded by failure and actually exceed into what we're discussing today, which is success. I know very well what it is for someone to go to school, invest about 20 years of your life into education, and at the end of the day, you have no job.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me to communicate to people and find their true potential and give back to society, for me, it's not something I don't think about it twice. I call myself to action as an obligation to do those things.
Okay.
Incredible.
Interesting.
Very
And in what ways
interesting.
do you give back to society specifically?
In any kind of way I can. Right now, what we're doing now, I believe that we have a lot of young entrepreneurs who will be watching this show, and I believe that they might get something into a secret or a kind of a.
Do you have any
advice.
specific projects that you're hoping to work on? Or?
Okay, right now we're speaking.
Can we just get you to just stop just 1 second? We're going to go on a quick break, and
Okay,
we will be right
absolutely.
back afterwards.
Oh, thank you very much.
Please keep watching. You don't want to miss this. We'll be back after the break.
So before I turn 40, I'm going to be proud and say that yes, we've been able to have an impact, not in one state, but all over Nigeria.
Welcome back to Moments. We're here with Sijibomi, who is an inspiring entrepreneur. All right, so before the break, you were going to tell us about some projects that you might have for giving back to society.
Absolutely. When we're looking at, I'm from Osun State, and precisely Elisha, and I believe that Elisha has produced one of the greatest people in the history of this country.
Hey, I'm from
Absolutely.
Elisha too, so cheers to that.
But unfortunately, in the 21st century, I believe that there's been a waste of entrepreneurs and young achievers in that city. So I'm trying to merge leadership with architecture. So in the middle of Elisha, we're trying to do something, and we're going to term it as Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship. We're going to construct a building that when you look at it, you're going to think that you're in the middle of Miami or Paris, and a contemporary building that meets international standard when it comes to luxury, and it's going to be a library where we have more than 2 million books, and people are going to have access to internet and different things, where people can come in there and they want to learn the history of Nigeria, for example, the history of entrepreneurship of the world. They want to learn about JP Morgan's or Rockefeller. They want to learn something about MK Abiola and his history and his perseverance and his patience and how he succeeded. This is what the Center of Leadership we're doing. We're hoping to finalize this construction before the end of this year. And I'm very excited about this project.
This is a resource center specifically for that region?
Specifically for Elisha and its surroundings.
That area.
But do you have any plans to maybe build other resource centers of the same kind in other parts of Nigeria?
Eventually, we have two businesses, and one of our businesses is enterprising and profits. Our second business is giving back to society. So I actually, in my office, I have a calendar, a kind of like a philanthropical calendar, where we know that every month we have an obligation to do something back to society. So definitely, I'm very optimistic that this leadership center would be very successful. This library would be very successful.
Okay.
And we intend to replicate it in all 36 states in Nigeria. So before I turn 40, I'm going to be proud and say that yes, we've been able to have an impact, not in one state, but all over Nigeria, where I'm talking about from Maiduguri all the way to Onitsha. We want to have something there.
Okay, so let's talk about you, Suji. I know that Sujimoto is an alias from your relationship with your mentor.
Absolutely.
Your Japanese mentor, who is Dr. Sujimoto Koga.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that relationship and how that relationship shaped your life.
For me, I find myself, I think I'm very privileged to actually meet Sujimoto Koga, because when I traveled to Japan, I was like 20, 21 years old, and I met Sujimoto Koga, and I was like, I was shaking him, and like, my name is Suji, and he was very excited, and he was like, "Watashi wa Sujimoto ka," like, I'm Sujimoto too. So he ran into a place, and I didn't understand. So out of being nervous, I ran away, and my girlfriend at the time, who was Sujimoto's niece, and she was like, "Oh, no, come back." It's like, the guy is excited. He was very excited to meet a black guy who is also has the same name. But above that, Sujimoto Koga is a man that installed in me the confidence I have today. I think that leadership is not actually born, it is made. Because if you look at somebody who grew up in the surrounding of almost mediocrity, but is now living in the essence of excellence, I think I learned within the period of time. So I remember when I was in Japan, I was like an estate agent. And what happened was that I didn't have the right qualifications and the documentation needed to actually leverage the most biggest potential in the real estate industry. So I always felt down, and I kept talking to Sujimoto, and he told me that yes, no, it's possible. So one day he saw me and said, "Well, what's going on with your plans and your big dreams and big ideas?" I'm like, "No, I can't do this anymore. I can't do these things anymore." And it's like, "Why?" I said, "But I don't. The society, the Japanese society, I don't have the license. I can't obtain my right commissions. I can leverage on all the potentials." And he said, "Don't ever say that again, because the opinion of the society cannot shape your destiny. You have an obligation to start looking within the society and leverage, find a way around it. You shouldn't allow yourself to be stuck. And because the society say you can't do something, then you're just stuck and you're back there." So what I started doing was that I realized that there's a huge percentage, there's a huge amount of people, foreigners in Japan, that cannot afford, because Japan is very expensive, they can't afford to own their own homes or own their own apartment, rent it. So they were looking for like a joint residence. So what I did was that I looked for, I was very aggressive looking for the right properties for rental purposes. I looked for the right properties and the right flexible landlords. Then I now brought in Nigerians or Ghanaians or people that wanted to rent this property, and brought them together. And I started getting my commissions, and from there, and above it, Sujimoto is just an extraordinary person. He's all about diligence. He's all about credit. He's all about you building a brand based on credibility. You have to be a man that your word must be your bond.
Your bond, okay.
And I love the fact that you mentor to other people.
Absolutely.
Fortunately enough for you, you met a man who mentored you.
Absolutely.
And it is extremely commendable that you're doing it for other young people.
Absolutely.
I wish you all the best, all the
Thank you.
success.
Thank you for coming.
It's been wonderful having you on the show. I wish we
Thank you
could
very
stay
much.
a lot longer
Absolutely.
and speak to you
Well, babe,
and
still
pick your
hustle,
brain,
hustle.
and try and get out, because I'm sure there's some woman in your life somewhere that you don't want to
I'll try.
to let
Hustle.
know about. You're watching, so if you can get a hold of him, thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Thanks very much.
Okay, now the Red Media Group has created